A black woman stopped her car to take a call. Then a racist cop dragged her out. A few minutes later, his phone rang. There are rules in this country that aren't written in any law book, but every black woman knows them by heart. One of them is this: never stop your car on a quiet road, even for something as human as answering your daughter's phone call. I pulled over just off Route 12, 5 minutes from home, engine running, my hazard lights blinking soft amber against the darkening sky. My phone had buzzed 3 times already. It was my daughter, Tasha. She'd never call me back to back unless something was wrong. I answered and heard her crying. Monantay, ich Marcos. They're saying he got picked up again. Can you come? My body went cold. Marcus, me nephew. 17. Sweet. Smart. Too often in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe, in this country, just being black is enough to make anywhere the wrong place. Okay, baby. Stay where you are. I'm on my way. That was the moment the red and blue lights flared in my rearview mirror. I saw the patrol car pull up behind me like a shark creeping through the dark. I sighed, told Tasha I had to go. I hung up, kept my hands on the wheel. He didn't walk up right away. Just sat in his car with the spotlight on me, like I was game to be hunted. When he did approach, it was fast. Heavy boots. Flashlight already in my face. License and registration, he barked. No problem, officer, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. I just pulled over to take a call from my daughter. My car's in park. Emergency lights on. He didn't care. You could see it in his eyes. You been drinking? What? No, sir. He sniffed the air like that would confirm something. Then he yanked the door open. I froze. Sir, out of the vehicle. Now. I was still wearing my seatbelt. Still holding the steering wheel. I haven't done anything. Please don't. His hand grabbed my arm, strong, rough, hateful. I screamed. Not because of the pain, but because I knew. I knew that scream might be the only thing keeping me alive. He dragged me out like I weighed nothing. Slammed me against the hood of my car. My glasses fell off. The road scraped my cheek. I tasted blood. Resisting arrest? I didn't do anything, I gasped. You're interfering with an officer. Officer, please me, daughter. He pulled out his cuffs. The cold steel bit my wrists as the weight of humiliation pressed against my spine. Somewhere behind us, a dog barked. The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere in my mind, I begged God not to let me become another name on the news. And then, like the sky cracking open, his phone rang. Not mine. His. He hesitated, looked at the screen. Something shifted in his face. I couldn't see the caller ID, but I saw the way his eyes widened. Saw his mouth go tight. He stepped back from me like I'd suddenly grown fire. He didn't answer right away. Just stood there, one hand still holding the cuffs, the other clutching the phone like it might bite him. Then he answered, and whatever he heard, it drained the color from his face. Yes, sir, yes, I have her what? But I thought. A pause. Another glance at me. Then a whisper. She's the mayor's sister? Silence. And then he turned to me like I had turned into someone else entirely. Act 1. The drag. The shift in his posture was immediate, absurd, and infuriating. He stepped back, suddenly flustered, the certainty in his shoulders dissolving into stammering guilt. Ma'am, there's been a misunderstanding. I said nothing. I was still on the hood of my car, wrists bruised, heart pounding in my ears. My legs trembled beneath me. He moved to undo the cuffs, fingers clumsy. I had no idea who you were. I didn't recognize. Because you weren't looking, I said, voice low. You never saw me. Not really. The cuffs clicked open. My arms dropped to my sides. He bent down to pick up my glasses like it would somehow undo what had just happened. Here, let me. I snatched them from his hand. Don't touch me. He flinched. Please, he started. Can we just... You dragged me out of my car in the dark for nothing, I said. For a phone call. For existing. I stepped back. My breath shook, but I stood tall. You didn't care until someone important told you who I was. He didn't deny it. He couldn't. And then I saw his badge. Officer D. Harlow. I burned the name into my memory. My phone, still on the driver's seat, buzzed again. Another call from Tasha. I picked it up. My hand was still shaking. Ma, she said, breathless. They're letting Marcus go. They said it was a mistake. That some higher-up made a call. Are you coming? I looked at the officer. Then I looked at the sky. It was a lie. This country tells you you're equal, but it doesn't treat you that way unless it thinks you're connected. That's what saved me tonight. But what about tomorrow? What about the ones no one calls about? Act 2. The cost of being known. I drove home in silence, my hands trembling against the steering wheel. My cheek throbbed where it had hit the hood. My wrists pulsed with the memory of cold metal. The air inside the car was heavy not with fear, but with fury. The mayor's sister. That's what saved me. That's what turned Officer Harlow into a stammering wreck instead of a headline executioner. Not my humanity. Not my dignity. Not the fact that I had committed no crime. My relation. At home, I found Tasha pacing on the porch, phone clutched tight in one hand, the other covering her mouth like she was holding back a scream. "Ma," she ran to me, pulling me into her arms. I winced as her hand brushed my shoulder. She pulled back, eyes searching my face. "What happened to your cheek?" "I'm okay." "You're not okay. Who did this?" I didn't answer, just pulled her into another hug. Behind her, Marcus stood on the steps, his head bowed, shoulders hunched like a boy who'd been carved smaller by someone else's hands. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "I didn't mean to cause." I shook my head. "Don't. You didn't cause this. None of this is your fault." But he didn't look convinced. And honestly, neither was I. Later that night, I stood in front of the mirror, inspecting the bruises blooming like dark flowers across my arms and jaw. I took a picture, not for sympathy, for record. Because people like Officer Harlow counted on silence. They counted on the world forgetting before they even got home. Not this time. I posted the photo. No caption. Just a hashtag, drag for existing. It spread fast. I woke the next morning to hundreds of shares, then thousands. Comments from strangers. Black women from Georgia to Chicago saying they'd been pulled over for driving nervous, driving tired, driving while black. A local reporter messaged me, asking for an interview, then a national one. But I wasn't interested in becoming a symbol. I just wanted justice. So I called my sister Mayor Denise Holloway and told her everything. "You're sure it was Harlow?" she asked, voice sharp as a blade. I read his name off the badge myself. She went silent. I heard her sigh. "I know him. He's had complaints before. But nothing stuck. Nothing official." "Make it official," I said. A pause. Then she replied, "Come by the office tomorrow. Bring the photos. We'll start there." I did. I sat in her office while her assistant closed the door behind me. Denise looked tired not just from the job, but from the constant tug-of-war between her blood and her position. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, eyes on my bruised cheek. "This isn't about me," I replied. "It's about how many times this happens when it's not me, when it's someone without a sister in City Hall." "I know." She opened a folder on her desk. Inside were printed emails, citizen complaints, body cam transcripts, redacted names, repeated phrases, excessive force, unjustified stop, aggressive behavior, all tied to Officer D. Harlow, and yet he still wore the badge. "He's protected," Denise explained. "Union. Precinct commander who likes his no-nonsense style. They think he's tough on crime. But that toughness is selective." My stomach turned. "So what do we do?" She closed the folder. "We expose it. But you're the mayor. Can't you?" "I'm also black," she cut in, "and a woman. And every step I take against the department has to be calculated, airtight, and backed by the people, or they'll turn it into a witch hunt." I understood. We'd both grown up in the same South Side streets, taught by the same parents who knew too well what the world could do to black kids who made themselves too visible, too loud, too inconvenient. But that didn't mean we stayed quiet. So we went public. A week later, we held a press conference. Not just about my case, but about the pattern, the culture, the numbers. A civil rights lawyer stood beside us. So did the families of other victims who hadn't been lucky enough to have a mayor in their corner. Officer Harlow was placed on administrative leave pending review. The police union screamed political persecution. Conservative news anchors called me a race baiter. I got death threats. One night, someone threw eggs at my house. But the movement was already rolling. Because for every troll on the internet, there were a dozen other voices, rising voices like mine, tired of waiting to be believed. Tired of watching body cam footage only after the damage was done. Marcus started organizing protests with his classmates. Tasha started a website cataloging stories like mine. We weren't just surviving. We were turning pain into fuel. Act 2 continues, revelations and standoffs. One afternoon, a man knocked on my door. Gray suit, quiet demeanor, internal affairs. He asked to speak to me alone. We sat in the kitchen. "I'm not here to placate you," he said. "We're conducting a real investigation this time." "Is there a fake kind?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised." He took notes as I spoke. Asked me to describe every detail again. Showed me photos from other incidents involving Harlow. Some of them were worse. One included a teenage boy who'd been left in the cold for 2 hours, face down on the pavement, because Harlow suspected theft when the boy had only been carrying his school laptop. No apology, no reprimand. And yet, there Harlow still was. But not for much longer. "We've recommended formal suspension," the investigator said as he closed his notebook. "And your story is going to make it hard for him to return without scrutiny." I nodded. "That's not enough." "I know, but it's a start." Meanwhile, Harlow himself remained silent, at least in public. Until one night, I got a phone call. Private number. I almost didn't pick up. "Hello." A pause. Then, "It's Harlow." I froze. He continued. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I wasn't targeting you. I didn't know who you were." I almost laughed. "That's the problem. You didn't have to know me to treat me like a threat. You just saw a black woman in a parked car and assumed the worst." He didn't deny it. "I messed up." "You did more than mess up." Another pause. "I've been ordered to sensitivity training. They're docking my pay. I might lose my pension." "And how many others lost their dignity under your boots?" I asked. "Their futures? Their peace of mind?" He had no answer. I hung up, because I didn't need his guilt. I needed change. Act 3, the ring that changed everything. It was early Saturday morning, barely light outside when I got the call. This time it wasn't private. The caller ID said Marcus Holloway. I picked up immediately, heart pounding. My son didn't usually call this early. Not unless something was wrong. "Ma," he said, breathless. "Turn on the TV. Channel 7. I rushed to the living room, grabbed the remote, and switched to the news. What I saw stopped me cold. The screen showed grainy surveillance footage from outside a convenience store. A black teenager, hands up, was being shoved against a squad car. The officer restraining him was unmistakable, even from behind. "Officer Harlow." The news anchor's voice came over the video. Just days after being placed on administrative leave, Officer Daniel Harlow was captured in this footage confronting a local youth outside a corner store on 53rd and Ashland. Witnesses report that the teen was complying, yet Harlow allegedly escalated the situation, detaining him without cause. I sank into the couch. He hadn't even waited. Nobody. No authority. Still using his power to intimidate. Still finding new people to hurt. A knock on the door jarred me from the screen. It was Denise, already dressed, already moving fast. "I'm calling for a city council emergency meeting," she said. "This is it, Layla. We've got what we need." "What about the boy? Is he okay?" "Shaken, but his mother's pressing charges." I nodded slowly. The system had cracks, but this time, our voices had made it through. That same afternoon, I received a message request on Facebook. It was from a woman named Erica, Harlow's ex-wife. At first, I hesitated to open it, but curiosity got the better of me. Her message read, "I just want to say thank you for speaking out. I lived with that man for 10 years. I saw the anger, the paranoia. I never had the courage to call it what it was. But you did, and now maybe my son will grow up safer." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back, "It's never too late to speak up. Thank you for telling me." The impact rippled wider than I'd imagined. The following week, I attended a public town hall. Dozens gathered, some to protest, some to support, many just to listen. The mayor, my sister, stood at the podium. She introduced me as not only a survivor, but a community advocate. "I never wanted this," I said to the crowd. "I didn't wake up asking to be manhandled, humiliated, or used as a headline. But since it happened, I'm going to make sure it means something. I'm going to make sure this city doesn't go back to pretending." A woman in the back raised her hand. "What would justice look like to you?" she asked. I paused and said, "Justice would be a system that protects dignity more than it protects power. A badge that means protection, not permission. A world where my daughter can stop her car to answer a call without wondering if she'll survive it." Applause filled the room. But it wasn't for me. It was for all of us who'd finally refused to stay quiet. Harlow was formally terminated 10 days later. Not just suspended, fired. And not for optics, but for documented, sustained misconduct. The boy from a store, his name was Trayvon, became the final tipping point. His mother stood side by side with Denise on the courthouse steps. Their picture ended up on the front page of the Sunday paper under the headline, "Enough." Still, that didn't undo what had been done. The bruises faded, but the memory remained. Every time I parked my car, every time I saw flashing lights behind someone else. But I also saw the change. New training protocols for the department. Community advisory boards created. Body cams reviewed by third-party monitors. Even Harlow's own precinct commander, the one who once shielded him, stepped down. Bit by bit, things shifted. Not fast, not perfectly, but forward. On the one-year anniversary of the incident, we organized a rally. Not a protest, but a celebration. Of survival. Of resilience. Of truth. The same parking lot where I'd been dragged out now had murals of black leaders, names of the wrongfully detained, and quotes painted across the pavement in chalk. Marcus spoke first. "I used to think power was something you had to take from someone," he said. "But my mom taught me it's something you build one voice at a time." Tasha followed, reading a poem she'd written called "Hands Up for Healing." And then it was my turn. I took the mic, looked at the faces black, brown, white gathered beneath the hot summer sun, and said, "A year ago, I was just another story waiting to be buried. But you all helped me rewrite the ending. Now let's help rewrite someone else's." A wave of clapping rolled over the crowd. In the distance, a siren wailed, but it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like an echo of change. That night, as I sat in my living room, Denise stopped by. She handed me a box wrapped in brown paper. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." Inside was a plaque. It read, "Layla Holloway, for courage, for truth, for all of us." Underneath it, the city's seal. I smiled. "I didn't do this alone," I said. "No," she agreed. "But someone had to go first." We hugged, long and tight. Outside, the stars were bright. Inside, I felt peace not because everything was fixed, but because I finally believed it could be. Epilogue, when the phone rang. Months later, I got a call. Not from Marcus. Not from Denise. It was from Trayvon's mother. Her voice shook with emotion. "I just wanted to tell you something," she said. "That night, when Harlow grabbed my son, your story was the reason I knew what to do. You were the reason I hit record. You were the reason I said no more." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Thank you," I whispered. "No," she replied. "Thank you." And just before we hung up, she said one more thing. "I heard Harlow got a call that night, right before backup arrived. Know what it was?" "What?" "A reminder to show up for mandatory sensitivity training." We both laughed. The irony was cruel, but also perfect, because even the phone had turned against him. And this time, the ring meant change was calling. And we answered.